I was in a situationship for 3 years, and I knew it wasn't good for me, but I still couldn't leave. So, if you're wondering how I finally got over it, it wasn't one decision. Getting over a situationship, especially one that lasted years, is not a clean process. It's not one decision where you wake up one day and you're just done. For me, it was a long journey, and it wasn't linear. There were days I felt completely fine. There were even months where I felt like I had already moved on. And then suddenly, I'd find myself wanting to message him again. Or he would send a simple, "I'm sorry," right when I was about to walk away. And I would go back again and again and again. And I knew it wasn't good for me. I was aware. But awareness doesn't always mean you're ready to stop. And I think that's something people don't talk about enough. Sometimes your mind already knows, but your heart is still catching up. And during that phase, it feels like you have no control. So if I had to describe how I actually got over that situationship, it wasn't one big moment. It was a series of small shifts and one final realization. One of the most honest things I can say is this: I kept going back until I got tired of it, until I felt empty, until there was nothing left to believe in, nothing left to forgive. I know that doesn't sound like the healthiest advice, but it was my reality. People will tell you to leave early, to cut it off, to have self-respect. And yes, logically, that's correct. But emotionally, it doesn't always work like that. If your heart is still attached, you'll find your way back anyway. So for me, I had to experience it fully, to the point where I didn't even have the energy to go back anymore. And that's when the detachment started to feel real. Another thing that helped me, and this might not work for everyone, was dating other people. Not in a chaotic way, but just being open to meeting others. Because it gave me something I didn't have before: comparison. I started realizing, oh, this is what it feels like when someone is consistent. Oh, this is what it feels like when someone is not jealous or controlling. Oh, and this is what it feels like when things are calm. And that contrast was important. Because when you're stuck in one dynamic for so long, it becomes your normal, even if it's unhealthy. You don't realize how much better it can be until you experience something different. And that slowly started resetting my standards. Not instantly, but gradually. But the biggest change didn't happen overnight. It happened in small steps, very small ones. Before, if he didn't initiate meeting, I would get upset. I would adjust my schedule. I would ask, "When are you free?" I would try to make it work. Later on, I stopped doing that. If he said he was busy, I would just say, "Okay, let me know," and leave it there. That might sound like a small thing, but for me, it was a big shift. Because I stopped overextending myself. Another example. Before, I couldn't ignore him. I couldn't leave his messages unanswered. But eventually I did. I started scene zoning him. And at first, it felt uncomfortable. But it also felt like progress. Before, if he asked to meet, especially because it was rare that he would ask, I would always say yes. But the last time he asked to catch up, I said no. And that was the moment I realized something had changed. Because it wasn't forced. It wasn't me trying to prove something. I just didn't feel the need anymore. I was already detaching. And then there was the moment, the last straw. Not dramatic, not explosive, no big fights, just clear. He did something that I had already told him multiple times I wasn't okay with. He was with another girl, and I happened to be in the same place. It was awkward. I saw them, and I realized something in that moment. The girl didn't even know about what's happening between me and him, our history, or that we're still a thing. I knew it, and that's why I told him multiple times, I don't want to see you guys together. I don't want to hang out together. She probably thought she was, the only one. But I knew my place. I wasn't the main girl. I was just part of the situation. Took me a while to admit it, but yeah, I think in that scenario, that's why he was a situationship, is because I was a side chick. He didn't want a relationship with me because all this time he had a girlfriend. He had a main girl. So during that time when we met in a club, strangely, I didn't react the way I used to. Before, I would have confronted him, started a fight, expressed how upset I was that he knows I was in that club and he was there and brought his girl. But that night, I didn't. I just said I was tired and I left. And even when he messaged me asking where I was, I didn't engage the same way because something in me had already shut off. That was the moment I was done. Not because of anger, but because I finally saw everything clearly. After that, I quietly removed him from my life. I unfollowed him. No announcement, no explanation, just distance. And that changed a lot for me mentally because I stopped seeing his life. I stopped checking his stories. I stopped wondering if he saw mine. I stopped posting with him in mind. And that absence created space for me to finally move on. So if you ask me, what helped you get over a 3-year situationship? There isn't one simple answer. It was 1, going back until I was truly done. 2, seeing other experiences that showed me better. 3, making small changes in how I responded. And 4, finally reaching a point where I had no more emotional energy left. And I think that's the part people don't like to hear. That sometimes you don't leave when it makes sense. You leave when you're ready. So if you're in a situationship right now and you feel stuck and you feel like you can't leave yet, I don't think you should hate yourself for that. Be honest with yourself. Be aware. Because awareness is the first step. And eventually, your heart will catch up with your mind. And when that moment comes, leaving won't feel forced. It will feel natural. It will feel peaceful. It will feel relief. And that's when you know you're finally done.